Hello and welcome to Confidently Wrong, a show by regular dudes talking with confidence about content we have no right to speak about with any kind of authority, but do it anyway. I'm Wesley Nakamura, and as always, I'm joined by award-winning director Brian Redondo and Savon Jones, aka Captain Vonnie. This is episode 188, and we lose ourselves in the rhythm and blues of Ryan Coogler's latest hit movie, Sinners. I'm confident that it's going to be the best show you've ever listened to, and well, hey, if it's not, you can always ask us for a refund.
Incredible!
Hello, gentlemen. Welcome back. It's Confidently Wrong. We got Brian in the house, Savon in the house. Good to see you, gentlemen.
Let us elongate these syllables.
All right. Well, on last show, we talked about Andor. And in a complete continuation of that same tone and genre, we're going to talk about Sinners. Just kidding. Very different type of movie and property. Directed and written by, I think it's written by the much vaunted Ryan Coogler of Wakanda fame, Black Panther fame, and Creed and Fruitvale Station. Getting a lot of
apparently
a lot of love.
Made out like a bandit for this movie, right? Like
He had a good deal. He had a good
part of his deal was that like he like the rights come back to him. He owns this movie
after 25 years.
Yeah, something like that, which apparently is unheard of in Hollywood.
Yeah.
So kudos to you, bro, for making that happen.
Kudos to our guy Coogler. Yeah, he's been all over the social medias doing interviews and things like that and explaining everything from the format that they chose to shoot it on, because they did some of this stuff on actual IMAX film, not just like IMAX digital cameras, but IMAX film. He's been talking about, the way that the movie came about and the reasons why he wanted to do a movie where he negotiated the deal the way that he did. And then obviously, just promoting the movie. So lots of stuff there. And I'm sure all the other stars have been out there. I haven't seen Michael B. Jordan out there as much, honestly, even though he seems to be the main guy. But Haley Steinfeld's been out there. And yeah, bunch of dudes. All right. Heads up. I did not see this movie. Couldn't get there. Couldn't find the time to fit it in, given that it's like AP season in the end of the school year. And
Sure.
Okay.
That's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it. And the fact that Kaya was up until God knows how long all these nights in a row. It's just ridiculous. If anybody wants a 3-year-old, let me know. We've got one for sale for free. You could just take her.
Oh, wow.
Sounds like a
save that for 4chan, man.
Sounds like a depreciating asset. Sounds like I would be taking a huge L.
Big loss
Pass.
right off the bat. All right, so let's talk about this movie. You guys both caught it. And how much did you know about this movie? What sold you on wanting to go see it? Savon, what was it for you?
This was some classic word of mouth for me. I saw trailers, knew a little bit about it.
Who put you on it? Shout them out.
The culture. Nobody in particular. Just
The culture.
The culture.
All my group chats, just my social media, and almost every black person I knew was talking about Sinners and how they saw it and things they liked about it. And
that put you on.
For me, it was like, okay, say less. I'm always a fan of like some quality black cinema. Once I was able to confirm that it wasn't just like, trauma porn, I was like, oh, okay, bet. So it's so this is like,
and not just a horror movie either, because we don't like horror movies.
Well, here's the thing, and this is another question later. I did not know it was a horror movie in the slightest.
Oh, I mean, the trailers are very violent looking.
I didn't watch any trailers.
Okay, all right.
And also even from the trailers, like that still doesn't really tell you what you're getting once you kind of really get into the movie.
It sounds like it's not as horror movie-ish as maybe the trailer made it kind of seem.
Well, I guess the point I'm making more so is that I didn't really see trailers. I saw promotional stuff, a little bit of art. I think I saw one piece of artwork that implied that maybe there'd be a supernatural element or a vampire. Okay. Maybe I knew that, a hint of that. But in terms of tone, theme, main characters, I knew next to nothing about this movie, which I talk all the time about how I like to go in not knowing shit. So outside of maybe there's a vampire, I knew nothing about this movie.
Okay.
And but it was just word of mouth.
But you knew people liked it.
But the biggest thing is that it was a black movie with a very talented black cast of like recognizable names that I knew. I'm like, oh, these are all talented people. And folks said that it was something new and original and it was a new IP. And just like black folks from all different backgrounds and different walks of life I know were all hyping up. So I'm like, all right, cool. Say less. Like this is a very easy easy way for me to spend some of my bread. So me and Tony talked about it. Said, all right, you want to go see it? And we went and saw it. But pure word of mouth hype. I didn't see a trailer. I went in blind and I had a blast.
Yeah, this has been kind of the buzziest movie for a new IP in kind of a long time, right? Like
I can't think off the top of my head.
Yeah, like most buzzy movies, right, is because like, oh, people already know Wicked, right? People already know Barbie. But this is, or they know like MCU, whatever. This movie is like completely original, but just has a ton of buzz and word of mouth momentum going for it. And in Wes's defense, I don't like to do this often, but in Wes's defense,
hey,
this movie was kind of hard to get a ticket to the first couple weeks that it was out. Like I legit tried a few times where I was like, I really do not want to buy like the one seat at the very front of the theater. Like
not a good way to watch a movie.
Like you could not get a good seat unless it were some random weekday, like the morning show or whatever. It was kind of frustrating. So I had to wait a little bit before I got to see it. But also let the record show that I had Sinners in our Confidently Wrong calendar long before this movie came out. It was definitely on my radar because you get the magical tandem that is Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan, who have hooked up on Fruitvale Station, on Creed, on Black Panther, and those are all great movies.
Bangers.
So Sinners coming out, and I saw the trailer. Of course, I knew it was kind of like a vampire-ish movie. I believe one of the early trailers spoiled that part. So yeah, I was more excited about the creative team behind this more than anything.
Did you take Anna with you?
Yes. No, I went solo
dolo
because of the dog. So I went solo.
All right, that's a decent excuse because I'm ready. I'm coming for everybody. I was like, all right.
I was I really wanted to see this. I did not want to wait until it came out on streaming to watch this. I want to see it in theater because there's also a lot of chatter about how how it was shot in 70 millimeter and IMAX and like go see it on a big screen, and so all that kind of like marketing buzz too was really getting to me. So I had to see it properly.
My barber, Joe the barber, shout out Joe the barber. He was excited that it was going to come back in IMAX. So this was like I think maybe the second or third. Maybe it was like
Joe Black,
the third. Yeah, for sure.
Whoa, I got a black barber. Let's go.
So like,
but is it a black barbershop?
It is a black barbershop. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Wait, Wes, you be in the black barbershop?
Yeah.
Oh, so you must know to shut up because I know that you got to be hearing some out of pocket stuff. Never mind, that's a different combo. We'll talk later. I'll
say it's not as black as the barbershop I went to in New Orleans. There's some white folks that come in too.
Well, you in Austin?
Yeah. It is not 100% supported by black folks, but
are there black people in Austin?
Yeah, there's black people in Austin. We don't know where they are.
No, Wes, they are in here. No, they're all concentrated in Houston. What the hell is that?
Have you been to Austin? Austin's like...
No, I haven't been to Austin.
It's pretty white.
Talking out my
Austin's
ass.
very white.
I know.
So anyway, but Joe was excited because he was like, that there was he was telling me there's such demand for this movie that that they bumped it out of IMAX for whatever movie came out right after that. Maybe it was like
Thunderbolts. Actually.
Was it Thunderbolts? But he was like, he's like, they've already announced that on May 15th they're going to bring it back into IMAX for another week or so of screenings, just because so many people have been wanting to see it in IMAX, and Coogler's been out there talking about how you should go see it in IMAX because they designed it to be shot that way or to be screened that way. And that he was excited. He was going to try and get a ticket when it came back to IMAX in the May 15th. So you're right. There has been buzz about it. And certainly people have been talking about the format because the director's been talking about it. But let's get into the actual story. There's going to be some light spoilers here. I told the guys I didn't mind if I spoiled it. I think by this point, the movie's been out for over a month. Most people who are going to see it have seen it. And if you haven't seen it yet, then, obviously run to the theater and see it before it leaves. And then or catch it on streaming whenever it comes out in the future. Okay, so we got quite a big cast. I wouldn't say it's got like super A-listers besides Michael B. Jordan, but we got like Haley Steinfeld in it. There's the one actress, I don't know her name. She was from Loki. She
Wunmi
played.
Mosaku.
What's her name?
Wunmi
That's where I know
Mosaku.
her from.
Um,
Yeah,
and she obviously she was like really cool in that, but not a main character in that one. But she shows up in
She's in
this one.
Lovecraft Country too.
Oh, okay. So some really fun characters here and fun actors that we're familiar with. Did anybody really kind of knock it out of the park in their role? Brian, what was your thoughts there?
Now that I think, I wrote down Haley Steinfeld
Nice.
here. But the true person that knocked it out of the park is Delroy Lindo.
Let's go! Let's go!
I love that guy.
Maybe I'll let Savon talk
Okay.
about it.
No. Talk your shit.
No,
I was in agreement with
I'm
you.
just thinking like on the spot, right? Like,
Yeah.
oh, actually, it's him. He's definitely like the best character.
He's a scene
and the
stealer.
best. Oh, absolutely! Like this guy is phenomenal, and he's.
For people who don't know him,
If you don't know
where have they seen him?
His resume, like he has been around. Like
a lot of old Spike Lee movies.
A ton of stuff. I think like the most recent one that he was in was like The Five Bloods.
Oh yeah.
That Spike Lee movie about Vietnam War vets, like black vets.
Was Chadwick Boseman in that one too?
Yes,
Okay.
Chadwick was in that.
He was in The Harder They Fall, that Western movie.
Was he in
with
Romeo
Jonathan
Must Die?
Majors.
Is he the dad in that one, or is that a different black?
He
actor?
might be, actually. Is that him?
Yeah, he was in Romeo Must Die.
He's the dad.
That's how I remember him.
I believe he's the gangster.
He was
boss.
kind of scary in that one.
He's just like one of those stalwart Hollywood actors.
Great character actor.
Who's just been around forever,
Yeah.
and you get to see him in his full form.
Okay.
In Sinners,
He's really talented.
Playing the bluesman, musician, alcoholic, functional alcoholic.
Like he sings.
Had seen, yeah. So he plays the harmonica. I think he plays the piano in this.
He's just a blues musician.
He's a blues musician.
Play all the instruments.
So the story of the Sinners is basically Michael B. Jordan and his twin. They're twin brothers. They come back to Mississippi, having been in Chicago, presumably working for mobsters out there. They come back to Mississippi to open up a juke joint. With their money, with the money that they've made from the North,
from crime.
And they are like assembling their Avengers basically for the juke joint, right? And so they need some really talented musicians to make this place hoppin' and to draw in a crowd. So one of the people they approach is Delroy Lindo's character, who's like playing the harmonica at the train station for money. But a well-known bluesman in that area, super talented. And so in the course of the movie, like he is being persuaded through beer, right? And like taking swigs of stuff, and just like playing great music. But he's also just got all these layers to him that makes him such an interesting character, right? Like they drive by a chain gang, and he talks about like his history. He knows the people in the chain gang, and they how they got caught up being bamboozled by some white folks, and like so he's got like some of that backstory. He's seen a lot. He's sort of down and out, but he's also really invested into music. And so every time he's on screen, he's just like giving off so many different nuances, like so many different emotions all at once. And so like he's like fun and funny, but he's got a ton of angst and grit, and like really soulful too, because he's a musician. So it's just like all rolled into one, and definitely stealing scenes every time he's up there. So shout out to him for like kind of like taking over the movie in a way. Like I think a lot of people would expect Michael B. Jordan to just like eat up his role, and he does a great job. He's definitely the rock of this thing. But Delroy Lindo, man, just like takes it to another place.
Yeah, let me add to that. He's just for context, Wes, right? He's also I think the elder statesman of the cast, both in terms of the actor and the character. So the cast has a lot of characters who are more so like adults, but he's like actually an older man who's seen it all, been through it all. And so who comes off as a character who initially feels like the alcoholic comic relief really does become an emotional center, especially, Brian, I don't know. I guess I have a question about the music, but the scene with the chain gang and the harmonica in the car is just, and his whole story about, his old friends and the friend who got lynched and all that is just phenomenal storytelling. And is again, one of the a very good high point of the movie. Doesn't feel super plot heavy, but it's just very, this was one of those moments in the movie where it didn't gloss over the experiences of Black people and African Americans at this time, but the movie also ain't trauma porn. And they're able to transition into a sad but also enjoyable blues song after he tells that really sad story. And like, the movie did a good job of really turning pain into art in a way that was beautiful to watch, not uncomfortable to watch.
Well said. Yes. Totally co-sign that.
Did you feel like Michael B. Jordan wasn't like your standout because we've come to expect it from him and he does deliver, or did you feel like they just kind of didn't make him like the center of everything? Because it seems like in all this the like highlights I saw and stuff, he was kind of the scene stealer, or not the scene. Sorry, he was like the central guy because he's always like involved in every scene. How did that sort of play out?
Well, the stuff with us talking about the character Delta Slim, that's less of an indictment of Michael B. Jordan's character of the twins, more so just of highlighting how dope Delta's character was. Like, the moments where he shine, Brian, tell me if you disagree, but the moments where he reflects about his past and shine is like no other character would have been able to do that just because of where they were in life and their role in the story. And so he was uniquely set up to be able to tell that story that was so impactful and moving and all that. So that's not to take away from any of the other characters. It's just they really utilized that character in a way that was like, oh, y'all got the most out of Delta Slim in terms of he could have just been drunk cracking jokes, but when it was time for him to be serious in the plot, he really did it in a way that really emotionally elevated the film.
Nice.
That being said, Michael B. Jordan was really, really good in this movie. Okay. The biggest thing being that
like if you're the main guy, you got to be right. Like, so it would be a little bit disappointing if he wasn't acting his ass off.
No, because some movies, like, they might be the lead, but maybe they're not the main focus. Because honestly, he is the lead, but I would argue, Brian, right? He's probably not the main focus. It's probably more about was it Preacher Boy? Yep. The story's more about Preacher Boy than anything else. So
Sammy or something.
Sammy, yeah, Preacher Boy. He's kind of son. He's really he's actually the real main character of it. Okay. But in terms of Michael B. Jordan's performance, he was great. He plays a pair of twins. The twins are very different. I can have mixed feelings about actors playing twins because sometimes I think they struggle to really make them feel different. And
unless they're Lindsay Lohan.
Yeah, actually, she did that well.
That actress did that too.
Yeah, but twins can be hit or miss. They did in my opinion, a great job of the twins. My big thing was, okay, am I gonna be able to tell these twins apart? And the movie very quickly makes it to where you are able to tell those twins apart.
They wear different hats.
Yeah, colors. But there's a point where even when they start opening their mouth and talking, you're like, oh, okay, cool. You know who is who, because one is the
one's
silly,
more serious.
One's super serious, like serious to the point of like, dude, take a chill pill. The other is so laissez-faire, whatever. It's like, hey, yo, man, I need you to like tighten up a little bit. But
and which one gets eaten by a vampire? The laissez-faire one?
The carefree one, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the carefree one, because a lot of shit happens. But point is, regardless of the characters themselves, well, he was kind of SOL. He didn't know what he was getting himself into. We would have all been victims.
I would have been got in that situation.
Brian would have got me too. Look, Haley Stan, she come up to me talking reckless like that. I'm like, oh yeah, bro, I fold like some laundry, big dog. I thought she was cold when I talked about how I liked her during Hawkeye. So I'm like, oh yeah, now she better.
Oh, did she she like seduced him?
Stuff happens, but like, yes. But as far as the Michael B. Jordan part, he plays the two twins. He plays them very well, and I like that the twins themselves were interesting characters who, I don't know. I like the twins were dope, a dope part of the movie, and I liked that they were different, had their own vibe, had their own conflict, had their own shit, and it really felt like Michael B. Jordan was playing two different dudes. I was like, it didn't. I was sold on the twins. The twin part I was sold on
for doing two characters.
Probably Ryan Coogler like got himself paid. Like I don't see why Michael B. Jordan wouldn't. No, but seriously, like
he
I
gets two
think
love interests.
I think what is interesting about this movie, right? I was talking about like that relationship between Coogler and Michael B. Jordan. Uh Surprisingly, this movie does not put Michael B. Jordan's characters as the emotional center of the movie. Like Savon said, it's probably Delta Slim, Delroy Lindo's character. And so like Michael B. Jordan get to doesn't get to have the full meal of an actor that you kind of expect him to, in the way that he does in, you know, Black Panther, right? Like he gets probably the most emotional moment in the movie. Same thing in Creed, right? Like he's really the heart and center of that. But the twins in this are, yes, they're moving things forward. They're sort of like the engine of why everything is falling into
But it's not about them.
Peace. Yeah, but it's not about them, right? It's not. I mean, sure, they have a journey, but they're really more characters in somebody else's journey overall, right? And yeah, and so like they don't get like this big emotional moment that really just like lets them like go crazy on screen. No, they kind of do, but I think like some of the higher highs are saved for some of the other characters.
Gotcha. Agreed. There's even their emotional moments that are great. It's still secondary to Preacher Boy, and even their emotional moment. Like I think they do have some really good emotional moments. Like I think it was who's the serious 10? Is that that's Stack?
I think you should not be asking me that.
Sorry,
kind of
but Stack, the serious twin, has like an emotional conversation with Preacher Boy, our main character Sammy. But to your point, Brian, like it's more about Preacher Boy than it is about the twin. Like,
absolutely.
He's
in
there.
Some ways, the big part of the twins is to be cool. Like I think that is a big, and that is no small feat for an actor, right? Like just like being an on-screen presence that oozes charisma and coolness and like makes you just want to watch them. That is what MBJ does in this movie.
Not to be confused with MPJ.
Not going different super beyond.
Yeah. Actually, you're right, Brian, because yeah, I'm sorry.
I got more questions. Okay, so continue with characters. I saw that there were some Asians in the movie.
Oh yeah.
Did they do us right?
Apparently some people are hating on that.
What?
Oh, please wait. No.
Were they bad?
Oh, no, sorry.
Were they Fabi?
I have history stuff to add. I have history stuff.
Because there's a corner of the internet that is saying like, what the hell are these like Asian people doing here? They're just here as part of like a DEI thing. Like this doesn't even make any sense. But Savon is going to correct those people right now with a history lesson.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So a little bit of fun fact. I'm sure most people know during just the westward expansion of America, there were large swaths of immigrant communities that came because they were looking for work and opportunity. So I think the more well-known, and correct me if I'm off base a little bit, a lot of what is now a lot of the Asian American population in the United States initially came from China, working in California, and a lot of the railroads, gold mines, a lot of the westward expansion. And so that's why there's a huge Asian American
agricultural stuff.
Yes. Work. There's work to be done. There's
physical
money to be
labor.
made. There's work and stuff that needs to be done. It's a chance for you to change your situation, get you some money. And so that's why a lot of places in the West Coast have very large, it's remnants of those Asian populations that settled and, made it home. There were also significant settlements of Asian folks who went to the South during this period of time and have been there for generations. And there's even documentaries you can read about it where there are old like Chinese families in like the Delta, Mississippi South who have been there since the 1800s, who have lived there for generations, to the point where in this old doc I had watched, it was this really, really old Chinese woman. And when she opened her mouth, it sounded like the most, like, you put it like this. If you didn't see that it was an old Asian woman, you would have never
just like you.
in a million years have thought that it was an old Asian lady, because they've just been there so long and integrated into the culture and made it home and been there for generations that they have the accent, the lifestyle, but they're still ethnically Asian. and those characters. And that's why even in the movie, when I saw the movie, as soon as they opened their mouth, I was like, oh, they got accents.
But
Right?
not Asian
like Brian,
accents. They got
like
Southern
Brian,
accents.
like I don't
They got twang.
like I didn't necessarily expect a fresh off boat accent, because I know that they had an Asian American presence in the South. I just wasn't sure how they were going to portray it, but they went all in of like, nah, these folks have been here for generations. This is their home. It reflects in how they integrated with the community, and of course, as you saw, with their actions. But that was a very pleasant surprise in the movie. Is okay, they're not glossing over that there were Asian people in this period of the South who were part of these communities who sounded just like everybody else.
Were they integrated into the story? Like, were they friends? Were they part of the vampire crew?
So the whole thing is that, you know, the twins are getting together, folks, to help do the opening night for the juke joint. This family runs this Asian family runs a convenience store, and they were being brought on to help like source like food and supplies and stuff. Like, hey, we got a party, can y'all like basically cater it and get all the stuff. So the whole point is they're gathering friends to help with music, cooking, bouncer, you know, doorman, all that type of stuff. So like they're a key part of the plot of like they're pretty significant characters in the movie, Brian. At least the wife for certain of like, yeah, they're like when the shit goes down, they're a part. They're a key. In fact, the part about the vampire knowing Chinese was a key exposition piece of how they could, you know, of them figuring out their situation. Because once Rennick the vampire, Brian, started talking to her in Mandarin, they were like, oh, just to let y'all know what y'all dealing with here.
Yeah,
so they even utilized that well.
And definitely the the Chinese woman who works at the convenience store or whatever is a big driver of what happens plot wise too.
Yeah, she definitely pulled a Peter Quill. Yeah, she Peter Quilled them for real.
Oh no!
She pulled a Peter Quill. Wes.
Oh,
I'm just like, hey, pimp,
damn it!
You ain't have to do that.
But I think one detail that was kind of interesting about having these characters there was the fact that they ran a grocery that I think was for Black patrons, right? They ran the Black grocery store, and then right across the street was where the wife was working at the white grocery store. I don't know if they own that. I kind of doubt that. I presume that she was probably just working there, but like,
no, it was their store, I think, because the daughter. Yeah, I think they own the store because
they own both of them.
I don't know. Oh, I don't know about both. I just know they own.
They definitely own one of them, which is where had all the Black clientele.
Yeah, because they had the daughter who worked there too. They had a daughter who worked the store with them.
And so, yeah, and so it's interesting. It's like, and I think this is part of the movie's ideology, or like the themes that it's trying to explore, right? Is that there are all these people from different walks of life coming together into like this Delta area, into America, into wherever, and they're brushing up against each other. They don't have these like clean line relationships. There's a lot of different entanglements going on.
Ooh, entanglements.
And it's messy and it's interesting, but it's how people live. And that is kind of, in some ways, is kind of the proposition that the vampires are also making to the people. Like, the vampires are just vampires. Once you're a vampire, you're a vampire, and that's it. You're good. You're like part of that society. And then the people that haven't been turned, you know, hiding out in the juke joint from said vampires, are the like hodgepodge of people, and also just like trying to figure it out, how to live kind of together. I think is part of what's going on in the movie. You know.
Yeah. Well, a big theme in the movie is reclamation of culture and ownership of culture. And what does that mean, right? Like, for Wes, again, for context, spoilers for folks at home, the movie, and maybe, I don't know, should this be our transition maybe into like the real like tone shift halfway through the movie?
Let's do it.
So the theme of this movie and culture, an important thing, Wes, is that there's one main character who's a vampire, and it's important for context. He's an Irish immigrant named Remick. Has a very strong Irish accent and like wears it on his sleeve. And he's the initial vampire we see in the movie. He turns a pair of Klansmen out in the area into his vampire thralls. And so the main vampires we see are the three of Remick, this white Irish guy, and these two like clanspeople.
Do they
But
maintain their white supremacy ideals as vampires?
that's where things get interesting, right? Is that when you turn into a vampire, they establish that you're still yourself in terms of you keep your personality, but whoever is the vampire that turned you has all of your memories and experiences. So it's a hive mind, but not at the same time. So, for example, bringing up the Mandarin piece, at one point, the owners of the Chinese store, one of the husband actually goes out and ends up getting turned, and we don't realize it yet. And we learn that the leader vampire Remick can suddenly speak in Mandarin and says things to her in Mandarin, not only in a language that he clearly can't speak, but also things that only her husband would have known. So they're establishing once someone gets turned, the person who's been turned now, like this main vampire has the whole scouting report on you, knows how to say the exact shit to piss you off, to work you up. In fact, that's how he gets the lady, kind of gets her to crash out because they threaten her child. But it ties into a theme of him wanting to feel at home again, the vampire, and by him assimilating these folks, that's his way of reclaiming and finding his own culture and home. There's also an interesting theme where, and Brian, maybe you can help me explain this a little better if you have better words than me, where the main character, Preacher Boy, who Wes we haven't talked a lot about, but his entire thing is that he's not a sinner. He's the son of a very intense preacher who wants him to not play blues music and give up the music game. And a big theme in the movie is him deciding, now I want to forge my own path, even if it's not what my preacher dad approves. I'm going to do this music shit. And in the juke scene where he's playing the music, and this is where I think people talk about that scene, his musical ability is such that it's actually able to conjure spirits of black music throughout time. And so in his scene where he's playing this blues song and everyone's getting busy breaking it down, even the scene is based off like this old black artwork piece of these black folks dancing in like a club, like it's a clear homage to that. You see ghosts and spirits of like 90s and 80s hip hop and old African, more traditional African stuff. And that music starts to kind of overlay and fade in and out over the blues. But that's what attracts the vampires to begin with, is that this music, the movie leans into this theme of music actually having real spiritual power. And that's what even brings apart the vampires in the first place, of like, this music can connect all these people, but it also can bring in maybe, negative influences too. So it's hard to see without you seeing the movie itself, but a big theme is that the vampire wants to assimilate Sam, Preacher Boy in particular, because his musical skills would allow him to be able to I guess, what is it, enthrall and be able to hear other cultures. But what, Brian, his in particular, right? Like, he wants to be able to reconnect to his own Irish stuff too, because there's a little bit of like, separation from your home culture. There's a lot of themes of culture, split from culture. What does it mean to you? What does cultural assimilation look like and feel like? Interesting stuff.
Yeah, they say at the top of the movie, right? They give a little bit of a lore drop, and they say like music. Every culture has this type of person in it that connects the living and the dead together, and in I think they call out maybe Irish culture to begin with, like they call it this thing. In Africa, they call it griots, and like and they're trying to say like these are all forms that the musician kind of takes in different cultures and has that special innate ability to do. And yeah, so when the Irish guy, the lead vampire, is drawn to this, he he is trying to absorb some of that power, I think. And then as he's assembling more and more vampires, right? Like they're basically like taking out other people from the juke joint as they're leaving. And then like suddenly they're all singing and dancing together outside of the juke joint, but in this Irish guy's like native tongue, right? Like they're doing some sort of like Irish
they're river dance. They're doing like Irish
they're doing like Irish step dancing,
and it's like black folks, white folks, it's everybody.
It's everybody all together, and so it's kind of interesting, right? Too, because like there's a connection between like river dance and tap dancing, which is very black, and there's like this whole like spiritual thing going on, right? That's their version of spiritual singing, and then it's contrasted with what was going on in the juke joint with the blues music and stuff. So like just channeling other cultures through music, or the shared culture through music, uh is part of what's going on in the movie. And I don't have like a full, like, worked out idea for me in my head about like what exactly Kugler is trying to say. Like if he's saying like the vampires represent like the white institution trying to like profit off of like black music and black culture. Like i I felt like that wasn't exactly what was going on, but that is one interpretation that I've heard people talk about. And I say that maybe that's not exactly what was happening, just because of the thing that they were doing, which was like doing this Irish step dance and Irish folk singing thing, with all sorts of different people. So there's a lot going on, and there's a lot to chew on, and it's all just kind of interesting and new and different. And we just haven't seen something like this in blockbuster movie making before, or at least in a long time. Yeah, I don't know. What do you think, Savon? How do you interpret what was going on?
Yeah, I mean, I think there was definitely significance of the character Remick being Irish, just because the Irish, especially at that time, were a heavily marginalized group. Before the Irish were white, they were very much looked very lowly down upon for a lot of reasons. Before they kind of
yeah.
before they kind of assimilated more into larger like white culture down the line. But I think Remick himself said in the movie that he misses home and he wants to be around his people again because he's an Irish immigrant. And if you're an Irish immigrant at that time, he probably didn't have it easy either, right? He has no community. So if the vampire who is from a culture where he lost it all is now turning folks because he wants to be able to rebuild it, kind of like speaking to why he had all those folks doing his dance, there's probably some interesting themes of cultural appropriation, cultural assimilation, and there's definitely some themes of white supremacy of like, yes, Remick is an Irish immigrant coming from this oppressed group and has lost everything. But in his process to try and rebuild it, he is also doing and be, kind of like paying forward the trauma of now of doing awful things to this black community, right? Specifically because he leveraged white supremacy as an end to begin with, right? For him, when he turned that initial couple, he saw that they had the clan hoods. He took advantage of that. So, you could maybe interpret some of it as like an almost cycle of trauma type thing of Remick was traumatized by the British as an Irish person and his experiences coming to America, but now as an Irish vampire wanting to rebuild his stuff, he has no qualms about leveraging Klansmen and white supremacy in order to rebuild his home or his culture, no matter what the cost is, even if it does mean killing all these black folks and doing to them basically what was done to him, right? Like that's me not having time to really take a bunch of notes takeaway. I only saw the movie once, but I do think there was significance to the theme of assimilation and him being Irish and the treatment of Irish folks in America relative to other immigrant groups and black folks who they were kind of caught in the middle a little bit. Not caught in the middle, but like they had shitty treatment, but it was a different type of shitty.
Yeah. Some of this makes me feel like the fact that it's not like a nice, neat like theme throughout the show, and like it sort of makes
you
me
have
feel
to come to your own conclusions. You will definitely have to watch and be like,
but
okay,
interesting. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
It's also maybe that you're not supposed
to.
Maybe you're not supposed to make like some hard conclusions, right? Maybe it's just more like you're supposed to get these feelings, right? Maybe it's more of that, an experience, and in some ways that reminds me of like Jordan Peele's more later movies, right? I've only seen the one where the aliens come.
Nope.
Yeah.
You've never seen Get Out?
No, I didn't see Get Out.
Oh, you gotta watch Get Out,
and
man.
and in
Wes, you're not beating the allegations, big dog.
And in Nope,
I know.
but in Nope, you
watched the one that had the Asian guy in it. Yeah, we
Glenn was in it.
And you called him Glenn. Jesus, this man is just on a generational run.
But in that one, I also felt like there wasn't necessarily one thematic takeaway, and in some ways, like the plot is even a little bit not a traditional plot, right? It's just sort of like these things are happening, and then there's sort of a climax, but not really, and the details of all of that sort of escape me at this point. But it it reminds me of that, and that you're not supposed to necessarily have like one big takeaway or one exact understanding of the movie or the characters, and that's good, right? Like there's room for movies like that. I think those kind of movies
This is a
frustrate
food
me
for
in
thought
some ways.
movie.
Yeah,
This
in
is a
some
food
ways
for
those
thought
movies
movie.
do leave a little bit sometimes too much, and I'm like, is that because you didn't know what you wanted to say, or is that because like, like is that a cop out move on the director's part or the writer's part? But hopefully it seemed like you guys felt like in this way it worked, or in this particular movie it worked, to set it up that way.
Yeah, some stuff is not about you walking away with a lesson. It's just
Yeah.
about like, regardless of how you feel about the plot and all that stuff, a major takeaway from the movie, Brian, is that music plays a key role in cultures, especially within Black culture, and it's very significant across generations as its ability to unite people. And even through that scene, you see how Black music has united Black people in the diaspora for generations. Like, that's not something that the movie is saying, hey, that's what you're supposed to come away and walk away with. But if you watch it, that's something that you can still walk away. Now, what you do with that conclusion is your own thing. But either way, you will recognize, oh, cool, the importance of Black music and spirituality and culture is a really big deal. What you do with that is up to you, but it's putting it out there as food for thought, as something that otherwise folks may never think about. So that's kind of how I interpreted some of the themes of the movie is. You're not supposed to feel a certain way. It's just supposed to remind you about things, and then you can think about it yourself of what that means or its significance.
All right, I got one question, but I got to get out of here pretty soon, so let's wrap this up soon. My question is, what was your favorite thing or part of the movie?
Ooh, that's a tough question. There's a lot going on in this movie, by the way.
Okay,
like we didn't even talk about how like crazy tonally this movie is. It's like,
halfway through
it goes
it's
from like
vampire movie,
like period piece in the South, then it's sort of like a gangster movie, then it's sort of like it's
Everyone's
just like a music movie, right? Right, it's like Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, that movie that came out with Chadwick Boseman, and then it turns into a vampire movie, and then it turns into kind of an Inglourious Bastards kind of movie when Michael B. Jordan gets to destroy all the Klans people.
Yeah, that's
it's
right.
Just like with his one machine gun, like bam, you're done.
He wrecked the shit out them people.
Like all that's like all those different parts of the movie, I think individually are like really fun and interesting. I think. Maybe maybe
there's an easy answer and there's a nuanced answer.
Maybe this speaks to me. Like, one, the music is great.
Come on,
when they're playing music in the car ride specifically, I think like the first time you hear Preacher Boy sing and play, you're like, oh my god,
that's good.
That's just like good music. Like I want to say that he's actually singing and playing.
No, he is. He's a real musician. He comes
from
his
voice. He's got this like low, deep voice. It's just astounding. Like, and like, yeah, you get it. Like music does do that thing to people. Like you just can't even understand or describe why. And it's better that you don't, right? Like, it's more magical that you don't understand it. I want to say that, plus all the sex scenes in this movie. Like, damn, this movie is like thirsty as hell. And
yeah, like 2.
And in like 3, there's 3, I want to say. Like, and in a good way. Like, it's just like,
oh yeah, you're right. That's 3.
And
you're
I think
that's
3. it's like really sweaty. Like they say some really kind of like out of pocket, like not something that you'd expect in a movie. Like I feel like we don't see these kind of movies anymore where like lust is just like so firmly part of what they're trying to give to the audience. And this movie's got a few of them, and part of that, it has to do with the music too, I think. Definitely in Preacher Boy's case, right? Like, I think the music is a big part of his lover connection.
It is the part. That's like his driving influence, Preacher Boy.
And it's like, yeah, this is another thing that is pure feeling and emotion and just like an experience, and it's visceral. You don't fully like, you can't fully explain it, but it's just like, oh yeah, you get like real tingly watching it unfold on screen. And
also,
so like
it's
those
kind
things
of
stuck out to me.
And it's a little bit, honestly, compared to a lot of other movies, it's a little bit more of a realistic depiction of what adults being in.
Yes, exactly.
Like and acts like. This is like very,
yeah.
That's what I was thinking. That's really like, it wasn't that it was sexy. It was like, oh, this is what actual adults who are getting busy behave and look like. Not, some of the Hollywood where it's a little more, I don't know. This is not how people get busy.
yeah. It's
the Hallmark version.
I'm
This
not
is not
sure
a
you've done
banger.
this before.
This is not a banger. This is like someone who's never had sex describing what they think sex is like.
All right. What's your favorite thing?
There's a few good ones. There's a lot of good ones, but for me, I'm gonna go with the scene when Cornbread goes out and he was turned. And for context, Wes, at this stage of the movie, we the viewers know that vampires are in play. The rest of the characters do not. And so there's this really, really, really stressful, like 20-ish minutes of the film where we know vampires are a thing. They don't. And so the characters have no idea how much danger they're in. And also in this world, right? It's not like vampires are a casual thing. So we might know the vampire rules. They don't. And we're just like, dude, what the F are you going to be able to do? And the classic vampire trope, a vampire can't enter your home unless they're invited in. There is an entire...
I didn't know that until you told us about that on What We Do in the Shadows.
Oh, yeah, that's like a whole vampire trope in vampire movies, is that vampires can't enter.
You were on a
unless
vampire kick.
Yeah. Not even a vampire nerd like that. That's the wild part. But there's an entire scene, Wes, and it's hilariously uncomfortable because have you ever seen 8 Mile?
A long time ago.
Never mind, you're not gonna remember.
All right.
Anyways, they're having this entire bit where the friend Cornbread, who's this really big, huge, husky guy, is the bouncer at the door. He got turned. We, the audience, know they don't. And Cornbread is trying to enter the juke joint, but he keeps on trying to word it in a way to get them to invite him in. And keep in mind, these are all his friends who they know him. He's behaving normal. So you, the viewer, are like, oh my God, please don't say a word that is confirmation of you can come in or y'all are effed. Yeah. And for like, what is it, Brian? For like 5 minutes? It's like an uncomfortably long scene of him standing like directly at the door, the place he was in earlier, but now he's turned and he's trying to get them to let him in. And they're like, why are you being weird? And then he starts trying to say stuff to like get them to let him in. And it's like slowly the facade is fading, or they're kind of realizing something's up. And they're just like, you can just come on in. It's like, man, you the biggest MF in here. Your big ass can still come in here. So just step on through. My little ass ain't gonna stop me. He's like, I just want you to be polite. Come on, so we can all be friends. It's such BS at a certain point.
Didn't they invite him by saying, can't you, you can come in? I don't know.
No, they have. He has to say, "Can I come in?" and say, "Hey, come on in." That's why he. But it's crazy that your doorman is acting like that, and the suspicion starts to pop. But they don't know what vampires are yet, so it's so uncomfortable until one character who's kind of involved in like a little bit of voodoo hoodoo is able to start to piece it together. But there's a part where they're just like, "No, you walk in, we ain't letting your ass in." And he's like, "What about?" He's like, "Well, give me my money so I can be paid." And then in the awkward scene, he hands him the money. And as he hands him the money, he pulls him out of the crib and tries to like kill one of the twins, and then they shoot him and all that. But at that point, it's fully exposed. Like, hey, these are vampires. They can't come in unless we invite them in. But they only found that out through like one of their closest friends. And it was such a good scene, Brian. Like, it was such a good scene. And
I love that his name is Cornbread.
That to me, yeah. But that to me is the ultimate flip switch. And the character who plays him is you remember 8 Mile, one of Eminem's friends was the big guy. You would recognize the actor, but his comedic chops and timing and delivery are amazing. Where
is he the big dude from what was that Spike Lee war movie? Like The Miracle of St. Mary's or something like that?
I don't know, but
all right.
I
think I know who you're
never saw that joint.
Okay.
Point is, it is an amazing scene, and when it's on YouTube, I will find it for you because even without knowing, and that scene would probably really completed the tonal shift of history piece to a straight up horror movie. And I'm like, oh shit, it is on. And I, as someone who hates horror, was so here for it. I'm like, oh shit, this just got real.
I think the movie's pretty light on the horror.
It is. It's more like stressful than horror.
Yeah. I mean, and like vampire movies, it becomes a little bit more action oriented, and then there's only maybe like one or two kind of spine tingling moments. Like, yeah, there's a moment when when one of the white vampires flies up into the air behind Haley Steinfeld as she's walking away, and you're like, oh no, you're about to get caught, and they cut away before you see the bad thing happen.
And that's when you know it's on. That's when it's like, oh, this movie is on.
Oh yeah, this is the guy. Okay, so I looked it up. Omar Benson Miller.
Yeah, Omar Benson Miller. Yeah, he's hilarious.
He's from
really
Ballers. That's where we know him from.
I know him from 8 Mile.
Okay, and then he was in Miracle at St. Anna, not St. Mary's.
10 freaking girls inside the... No, okay.
All right, friends, I think that's gonna do it there. Do you guys want to give it a rating, or should we stop there?
9 out of 10. Great movie. Recommend you see it. It's a nice original black IP that's not based in trauma porn.
If you don't go see it, you're racist. That's what Sap said.
I didn't say it, but you said it. And, your words, not mine.
Wes is pulling an 8 Mile by jumping out ahead of the criticism.
Yeah, right. It's like, fool, I wasn't gonna say it. But if we all saying, look, Wes, look, Brian Anna got a pass because she was taking care of the dog. What's your excuse?
I was taking care of 2 humans. All right, Ryan, what's your rating?
I think I want to go. Savon's gonna hate me. I think I'm going with like a 7.8 out of 10, and like part of why it's that I think has to do with the buzz and the fact that I like tried several times to watch this movie. So in a way, like I think I built it up way too much in my head for what it is, which is kind of what I said. Like there's a tonal mashup. It's sort of, it feels like very free flowing in a way. It's just like goes from here to there, and like things are happening, and there's a lot of characters, and it's not like 100% like like everything is like tightly working together. I feel like some things work better than others, but at the end of the day, it's still a really fun watch, and there's so many good individual things happening at any given time, and it's like in a lot of ways it's a breath of fresh air, right? Like it's not something we normally see. Like we do not normally see a music performance dance scene where there are different like timelines coming into play all at once, right? Like and I might have some like quibbles about the execution of that, but just like the fact that it exists, I'm very happy about. Right. So I think it's definitely worth a watch, and people are gonna come away with different things from this one.
All right, friends, you heard it there. I think next show we're probably gonna come back and wrap up about The Last of Us season 2. I don't know what else we're gonna talk about, but that'll probably be the next thing.
I got some shows if y'all willing to watch them.
What's coming up next?
I mean, I got the new Black Mirror season that's out. We never talked about that. There's Love, Death, and Robots, new season of that's out.
Kendall wanted to talk about that too, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've watched that show for years. I've talked about it on here before, on the pod before. I've talked about it before, but you know what I'm saying? They got some stuff we could watch. You know what I'm saying?
And then around the corner after that is
Bridgerton next year.
Ironheart, what'd you say?
A new season of Bridgerton.
More Bridgerton coming, baby.
That can be your what we're loving. Ironheart, and then right after that will be Fantastic Four. So I think the next 2 months are going to be packed with some stuff, which would be a lot of fun.
Superman's also.
Yeah,
dog. I ain't gonna lie, man. That shit, I'm kind of hyped for that shit.
Looks good. That'll do us. See you later. Bye.